Good afternoon and welcome to The Rundown. I am your host, Captivating Christian, and here are some of your top stories for today, August 10th. A 5.1 magnitude earthquake shakes North Carolina as the GOP is trying to shove a disastrous provision into the newest coronavirus aid bill that would make it nearly impossible for workers to fight back against their employers if they caught COVID-19 on their jobs. And Johnson & Johnson's coronavirus vaccine protects monkeys. Studies find. And 9 people have tested positive for the coronavirus, otherwise known as COVID-19, at the Georgia school that went viral for the crowded hallway photos. And 21 people were shot, including one fatality, after a large gathering in Washington, D.C. And Kanye West admits that his presidential bid will take votes away from Biden, and he's not denying it. Let's get to the news. A 5.1 magnitude earthquake struck North Carolina near the Virginia border on Sunday, with shaking felt as far away as Tennessee and South Carolina. It's the largest quake to hit the state since 1916, the National Weather Service has reported. The U.S. Global Survey said that the quake's epicenter was 2.5 miles southeast of Sparta, North Carolina, at the depth of about 2.3 miles. It hit just after 8 a.m. and could be felt throughout North Carolina as well as in Virginia, Tennessee, and South Carolina. And once again, good afternoon and welcome to The Rundown. I am Captivating Christian, and this portion of the show we will basically be listening to me give my personal views on the articles of this afternoon. So anyway, let's get started. So first we're going to talk about the earthquake that hit North Carolina, 5.1 on the scale. Pretty big shakeup. For the people of North Carolina, borderlining Virginia, Tennessee, and parts of South Carolina felt this earthquake. They haven't had an earthquake since 1916 in North Carolina to that magnitude. That's been a long time. I don't know what this says about the changing of this world as far as the global climate that we live in, things of that nature. Very seldom do we have earthquakes on the East Coast. That's more of a West Coast thing, but they're happening more and more here lately. So I wonder what all of this means. It's very interesting to start to see this rise in earthquakes on the East Coast. Just something to make you go, Who knows? It could be something to keep our minds off the rising numbers of coronavirus deaths. Republicans in Congress are adopting a new idea pushed by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce that would make it nearly impossible for workers to sue their employer if they get the COVID-19 on their job. The current law protects companies that take responsible steps to protect their workers, but the GOP's new provision, which they're trying to force in the latest aid bill, would take the idea to the extreme. With no accountability, no provisions could encourage companies to cut corners and not protect their workers from the COVID-19. Alright, so let's get into the second story with the GOP, basically the Republican Senate, having the ability to pass a second aid bill or coronavirus aid package. However, they are looking to withhold this particular package to include some language, and there's always the devil in the details, as they say. Well, these details or these devils are trying to ensure that employers or employees won't be able to sue their employers if they happen to go back to work and for some strange reason, God forbid, catch the COVID-19, otherwise known as the coronavirus. This is very interesting because there's been this push to go back to work. And so with companies probably putting out incentives to entice their employees to get back to the job, the employers, are trying to safeguard themselves so that the employees won't be suing them if they happen to catch the coronavirus while at work. So they're trying to safeguard themselves. This, of course, it's not surprising totally that the companies would try to safeguard themselves because that's what they do. However, with the fact that this pandemic is somewhat on the rise and there's no set cause for it, or we don't even know how people get infected really, it's kind of tough, especially again when you're pushing people to get back to work, pushing schools to reopen, and there's no protection and no responsibility held then to the company. So it again makes everything look, and the reason why I say I'm not surprised is because the person who's in charge of the commission is a Trump supporter. So I'm not surprised that him together with the Republican Senate are trying to find ways to cover their own behinds while they're still pushing for employers to push their employees to get back to work, but then at the same time not safeguarding their health in any way. So I find it to be a bit ridiculous, but what do I know, right? So let me know what you think in the comments. It's the second study in a week to report promising results in monkeys for a vaccine candidate. But the real test will come with human trials that are now underway. An experimental coronavirus vaccine developed by Johnson & Johnson protected monkeys from infection in a new study. It is the second vaccine candidate to show promising results in monkeys this week. The company recently began a clinical trial in Europe and in the United States to test its vaccine in people. It is one of more than 30 human trials for the coronavirus vaccine underway across the world. But until these trials are complete, which will probably take several months, the monkey data offers the best clues to whether the vaccine will work. Unlike many other vaccines in development that mostly required 2 injections, the Johnson & Johnson candidate shielded the monkeys with just 1 dose, according to a study published on Thursday in Nature. It's a very resounding level of protection we saw, Dr. Dan Broach, a virologist at the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston, and a co-author of the new study. The study comes just 2 days after a similar one was published on a vaccine tested at the National Institute of Health. The base vaccines are being tested for a number of diseases, but none have yet been licensed to be used for people. Researchers vaccinated monkeys by giving them 2 shots spaced over a 4-week period. A month later, they injected the animals with the coronavirus. In some of the vaccinated monkeys, researchers could not detect the virus in the nose or lungs. In others, the virus replicated slowly before disappearing. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine, in contrast, is based on a virus called the AD26, which researchers have modified so that it could carry the coronavirus spike's protein gene. The AD26 virus can slip into human cells and cannot be reciprocated once inside them. Its host cell then uses this spike gene to make the coronavirus protein. This month, European regulators approved Johnson & Johnson's AD26 vaccine for Ebola. It was the first time this kind of virus-assisted gene delivery was approved for any disease. Right, so in this story, we can see that the famous Johnson & Johnson, the ones that make the baby oils and lotions and baby powders and all those kinds of things, they're pushing out a vaccine, and they found some promising evidence in the monkeys that they have been testing. Now, I read this article and I was like, okay, so you haven't tested any humans, but then you say human trials are underway. So which one is it? Are humans actually being tested for some of this stuff, or they haven't tested humans, they're just testing animals? Which I think they're basically testing both simultaneously at the same time, just not really saying it. But anyway, so Johnson & Johnson, they have found some promising evidence in the animal specimens that they have been testing that show that with the virus, with the vaccine, of course, they haven't been able to locate the virus in the lungs and in the nose, where it seems to be prevalent, attacking the respiratory system. However, what I was really taken aback by, not really so much, but the fact that they have something called the AD25, which is something similar, and I'm not sure if it's, because I'm not a chemist or anything like that, so I'm not sure if it's like a blank screen of a gene that they can use to kind of put anything in there to figure out, what works with it, what doesn't. I have no idea, but it was just very interesting that they have all of these things just sitting around and waiting to be tested. It's just things that make you think a bit. To what level are these things actually man-made and forced upon the population for population control, and what part of this is actually just natural born diseases? It's just really something that was really interesting to me, and it just stuck out to me like, wow. Because there are places that have heavily populated areas, and there are people who have agendas, along with these heavily populated areas, that they want to have a major race, a major population of a particular group. So you never know what people's true intentions are. And I just hope that this is not another ploy to find a way to kind of control mass population. And be sure to join Jay Wilson, Rebel Sun, The Official Kingpin, Conscious TV, and Captivating Christian this and every Thursday at 6:45 Central Standard Time, 7:45 Eastern Standard Time for the Gentleman's Panel, where we are not afraid to go there and discuss an array of topics. See you there. Six students and 3 staff members had tested positive for the coronavirus in North Paulding High School after photos of a crowded hallway with maskless students at the Georgia school went viral. The principal confirmed the positive COVID-19 cases in a letter sent to parents on Saturday that was first reported by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and ABC News. The students and staff who tested positive were in school for at least some time last week. When the photo of the crowded hallway went viral, Saturday's letter stated The affected students and staff reported their test results to school officials. On Sunday, the county school district superintendent announced that there will be no in-person instruction at the school on Monday and Tuesday, only with the possibility that the number could increase, according to the letter posted on Twitter. Said that the school will be thoroughly clean and disinfected on Monday and Tuesday, and that parents and students will be notified on Tuesday if in-person classes could resume or not. The school district has chosen not to enforce mask wearing, calling it a personal choice, even though the CDC now recommends their use. The letter did not mention any changes to that policy or guidance of wearing face coverings. For this next story, good old Georgia. What a state. And for all those who live in Georgia, I sincerely, my condolences to you. Because I don't understand. I get it that there is a push to get students back to school and kind of move along and move forward. But in a state of crisis that we are, with the rising numbers that we do have, with government officials, be it federal or locally, not taking the virus seriously once it was announced, you find yourself in a place in which we don't know how to control it. We don't know how you contract it completely. We're kind of guessing. You kind of throw stuff out there, see what works. But so many times, at whose risk are we going to keep throwing the food at the wall and hoping that it sticks? So now you push for schools to reopen, and a lot of the Republican governors have reopened their schools. However, with no kind of safety protocol to protect the students as well as the administrators. So, moving past that, this week the president made an announcement that children were very unlikely to die from the coronavirus. However, there have been reports of children dying from COVID-19 related illnesses. Now, these particular students, there have been 6 that have been tested positive for the COVID-19. Actually, this particular school went viral because a student took a picture of the hallway with all of the students in the hallway and no one wearing masks, as well as following social distancing protocol. Now, the governor has stated that he wants mask wearing to be a choice and not a mandate. But however, my problem with all of that is, so you mean to tell me you can mandate things that are kind of unnecessary? Like you can mandate a student having dreadlocks. You can mandate students' clothing. You can mandate all of these things that really have nothing to do with the health and safety of the students at large. But what you won't mandate is protecting the students and the faculty's health. That's, again, another thing that makes you just go, now why won't you mandate the protection of students' health and the protection of administrators' health? Why? What's in it for everybody that we don't see? Because I just really cannot see a governor or anybody of a state elected office not having any protections to protect the most vulnerable among us, other than elderly. There's children, and yeah, some of these kids think they're grown adults, but they're still kids in our eyes. But to protect them it's like real weird to me. I may stand alone in this, but I really don't get it. I don't get what it is. Again, me following this administration as much as I have for the years that he's been in office, there's always money attached to anything that is being pushed so broadly. You find out that there's some kind of deal, somewhere. Either someone gave some campaign money, and they're beholden to follow through with this. So I just really don't understand what is this push with these children getting infected for this. I really just don't. I mean, so much so that they have to now close the school for Monday and Tuesday so it can be clean and disinfected, right? And they won't have any in-person classes for Monday and Tuesday, and we'll let the students and parents know whether or not they can come back to class on Wednesday. Now, you could have avoided all that by doing at-home schooling or remote schooling for the students. But no, you was too gung-ho to please someone who at the end of the day is not even allowing his own child to attend school in person, that they'll be attending school, via learning online. So I really just don't understand, and I can ensure that probably the governor himself, his kids or grandkids or whomever, will not be attending public school. So then why would you turn around and think it's okay to subject the people under your governance to go to school if you can't even contain it? So it's like, why would you do that? To create more of a mass of death, of infection? Again, it's starting to look more like population control to me than just simple, we just want to get the economy going. I think it's like population control. And they're trying to do the best they can to wipe out as many people as they can before November. Just my thoughts, man. A teenager was killed and 20 others, including an off-duty police officer, was shot at a large gathering in southeast area of Washington, D.C. early Sunday. Police Chief Peter Newsham said that multiple shooters carried out the attack that killed 17-year-old Christopher Brown. 20 others suffered gunshot wounds, according to the police spokesperson. One D.C. police officer was shot and is struggling for her life. Newsham said she was off-duty at the time and was taken to the hospital by police officers on the scene. Of those shot, 2 are 17 years old and the rest were adults. The rest of the injuries are not believed to be life-threatening. Police are currently looking for at least 3 shooters. Okay, this shooting that happened in Washington, D.C. just this past weekend, actually Sunday, the early mornings of Sunday, probably Saturday night into Sunday. I really don't understand what this issue is. For one, the large gatherings. Let's break it down. Large gatherings. If you don't know, Los Angeles has put a kind of like a memorandum on their floor to people who have large gatherings. Instead of getting fined or anything like that, they will shut off your power and your water to your residents. So they're done with, I guess, fining folks because people are either paying the fines or not paying any attention to the fines and still having a large gathering. So now they're looking to cut off people's, utilities if they don't comply with these gathering laws. Now, with this, it is unfortunate that people are dying from gun violence, and that's a whole another issue in and of itself. Okay, but we need to be just as outraged for stuff like this as well as police brutality. And we can do both, because it doesn't help the cause. And the main cause is, it is what it is. We're tired of the police brutality. We're tired of the overabundance of different tactical methods used on particular neighborhoods and areas of color. But this right here, this shooting where they're looking for 3 possible suspects, and a teenager losing his life, and you have a off-duty police officer clutching on for dear life. It's sad and unfortunate. Now, like I say all the time, we don't know the details directly to this. I do know that, and we all can attest to, ever since it's been a march to defund the police, there have been these increased shootings coming out of the woodworks, and all these shootings. And the media will like to portray these things, of course, firsthand, to make people already say, well, we need the police, because see, look at all these shootings, look what's going on. But we don't know who's behind them. We could say that it's gun violence and gang related, quote unquote, but a lot of the times we've watched the movies, we've seen them, that there are gangs, and there's gangs that have affiliations with police officers and so on and so forth. And I've said it before, that unless you could really pinpoint and go, yeah, it was because of this, there's no kind of police relation, no officer, no nothing, I'm not buying it. A lot of this stuff, I feel like it is put out here when this argument of defunding the police department and all these increase of mass shootings from all over to bring attention. And Chicago's always had them, but one thing I have noticed is once Donald Trump started talking about Chicago the way he was, as like this place is almost like a war zone, all these increased shootings were happening. And it's almost like people were sent to create this idea. Oh, look at Chicago. It's so bad. It's so horrible. Look at all these shootings they have. But it wouldn't surprise me if we come to find out that the CIA or the NSA had people in these inner cities doing all these killings and shootings to keep this whole, the inner cities are so violent. We need police presence. We need a bigger police presence. But it's funny how, if that could be true, that you need the police presence, but you're so quick to regenify our neighborhoods and kick us out and you move in. So which one is it? Either it's crime filled and it needs a militarization of police, or you just want us to leave so you can be hip and cool and live in the inner city. Which one is it? Because you can't have both. And it's almost look like right now that you're trying to do both. You're trying to paint a picture by, because it's not like it hasn't been done in history to have the CIA go into the inner cities and stir some stuff up. So then you could bring in the military forces to do what they need to do and clean house. So it's not like it's unusual, because it has been done. So I don't know. It's just stuff, again, everything in the words of Arsenio Hall that make you go, But who knows? We'll see. Someday it'll all come out and somebody will be touted as the person I told you so. But we shall see what all this brings about. But like I said, it is sad and unfortunate. My thoughts and prayers go out to the family of the young man who lost his life. But people, please stop with all this gathering before they wind up cutting your power and your water off. And you be sitting there trying to figure out why this stuff ain't off. because they're not going to fine you anymore. They're just going to start cutting your stuff off. Kanye West's efforts to get on the ballot in several critical states for November's presidential election has been aided by at least a half a dozen Republicans or Trump-linked political operatives. Their involvement has raised suspicion that the rapper is simply running a spoiler campaign designed to take votes, particularly black votes, from presumptuous Democratic nominee Joe Biden in some battleground states. Now, West has all but admitted that what he's doing. In an interview with Forbes conducted via text, West said he wasn't running for president, but rather walking for president, clarifying that he was walking to win. But when it was pointed out to him that his name won't be on enough ballots to win the necessary 270 electoral votes to make it to the Oval Office, and that his campaign looks designed to take votes from Biden, West replied, "I'm not going to argue with you. Jesus is king." West said last month he was no longer supporting Donald Trump. "I am taking the red hat off with this interview," West said in the Forbes interview, explaining his decision by saying, "It looks like one big mess to me. I don't like that I caught wind that he hid in a bunker." But he has been slow to criticize the president while attacking Biden, who he says is not special. When asked about his efforts to undermine the former vice president, West admitted, "I am not denying it. I just told you." West launched his presidential campaign last month with a rambling and particularly incoherent speech in South Carolina, which led the public to be concerned about his mental health. His wife, Kim Kardashian, subsequently posted on Instagram about West's bipolar disorder and asked for the compassion from the public. So let's talk about this story here. It's a lot of times where we have celebrated many artists for their differences and said that, that artist is a genius. Yeah, they may, be a little off kilter, but they're a genius. Look at their body of work, be it painter, sculptor, musician, playwright, so on and so forth. There's always been one in the group that was a little off kilter, and it was always excused because of their artistic talent. But I think what we need to stop doing is making excuses for just people. There are some people who are not about the change and evolution. Once they feel like they have made it, it's almost like, well, sucks for you, I've made it, kind of mentality. And we have to understand and see it for what it is. Now, with this particular individual running for president, I think we need to take a step back and really realize what we're supporting. When we buy a lot of these artists' albums and so on and so forth, because they make great music. However, in their personal lives and decisions, they, lead a different type of life. So then we have to then come to the realization that what are we actually supporting? Because if you don't agree with what the person's personal thoughts are, but you like their music, then at some point, subconsciously, you are agreeing to something. So we have to make that distinction. Now, with this, there's an all-out assault on our vote. So again, if you don't think your vote counts, here's a prime example that your vote counts. Your vote counts so much that they would get an artist that they feel is beholden to the black community. We hold him up so greatly that if he said, he's running for president, we will go run out and vote for him, which could not be so far from which couldn't be so far from the damn truth. I'm not sure of anybody who would seriously consider voting for Kanye West for president unless all they wanted to do was throw away their vote. That's it. Like, they didn't want to vote for Trump or Biden, but they would throw away their vote and vote for Kanye West. Now, I really don't see that happening as like a Hillary Clinton moment happened. But you never know. And for someone to actually only get on the ballot in most of the states that are an issue for Donald Trump right now is a bit problematic. So now we have, and this is just, on record for publications, that we've had reports that Russia, China, Iran, Kanye West, and Lord knows who else is really either trying to sway the election, either in one way for Trump or two ways for Trump, with Russia and I believe the United Emirates as well. So we have Russia, United Emirates, Kanye West, and China allegedly pushing for Biden to win, which could just be falsified just so that if Trump loses, he can say China rigged the election. So, we can't even fully hold truth to it because this man is already setting up, as he did in 2016. If any of you remember, he said it out of his own mouth when he was at the campaign rallies, when they kept saying, oh, he's trailing and he's trailing in the polls, he's trailing. They kept saying it. He started saying, hey, if I lose, know that the election was rigged. Hey, if I lose, the election was rigged. And now all of a sudden he's doing the same thing. Now he's actually putting countries in it as if they were involved. We already know Russia helped him. We know Russia's helping him again. They've said it. All the top intel have said that Russia has been and has not stopped trying to make sure and ensure that President Donald Trump remains in power. So now that we know this, we know that there are other people, kind of campaigning for Trump secretly or whatever. So again, we have Kanye West, going as far as getting these Republicans to pay to put his name on ballots. He's actually looking towards some criminal activity himself because a lot of these signatures to get him on the ballot are coming out to be falsified. So he might want to start cleaning up his own act because, as we all know, Donald Trump will not pardon everyone. He only pardons certain people. So I don't know if he will pardon Kanye West if Kanye West winds up getting in trouble with the campaign boards. Don't know, but we shall see. But I just find it to be a bit unfortunate that we have come to a place where in which all out cheating, hardcore in your face cheating is happening right in front of our face, and we can actually sit here and say with a straight face, oh, my vote doesn't count, and they are sitting here throwing entertainers that they feel you follow so greatly that if they said they running for president, you will just drop it and vote for him. And they know good and well he will never have a chance of getting to the Oval Office and getting the 270 votes he needs. But however, if he can make a dent to where in which it would push Trump over the edge over Biden, that's exactly what they're going for. So I just find that to be very disheartening and disgusting. That here you are, a man of color that has dealt with levels of discrimination on every hand, and you can sit here and listen to a man degrade your people on a regular basis, right? Who wouldn't even probably entertain your wife. The only fact that he entertains her or anybody else of somewhat of a celebrity status is the celebrity that you have, which he is enthralled by. Other than that, he would not. So the fact that you go along to play this game, which can jeopardize your people at this point, and the city which you represent, that he is gun ho on sending military forces in to quote unquote clean it up, is a bit ridiculous at this point. And just like people want to cancel R. Kelly with this cancel culture, we need to start looking to cancel a lot of these entertainers too. Because if you're not for the fight, then you don't need to be in the fight. And that's plain and simple. So we need to stop supporting these artists, supporting these people who are self-claimed geniuses on some level. And yeah, they make great music, but their choices start to be in question. And then it's like, well, what am I supporting? Because in me supporting your music, I'm supporting you. And if your message is nonsense, then in essence, I'm supporting your nonsense. And I can't do that. So I think we need to start waking up, because this is serious. And they're using everything that they can to ensure that this president remains in office. And we cannot afford 4 more years of this. Once again, thank you for watching CCN Midday News. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification button so you will never miss another news update. Have a great day. Peace.